Rock Dude here.
Mark Z, and welcome to another awesome Season 2 episode of the
Rockin House.
Today's special guest we have from Los Angeles, California is Tara Lynch, an extraordinary guitar player. Unbelievable. Rock Dude. We're going to have her on here to tell her story, right?
As guitar players go, this is a girl guitar player, one of the best. She's not the household name just yet because she's been out and about for the last 3 years because she wanted to put her career on hold so she could raise a family. She has 2 beautiful kids, which is a great thing to do. And now her buddies on the A-list squad, like Vinny Appice and Billy Idol's bass player, Tony McAlpine.
Yep.
They're all friends with Tara from the beginning. They were always trying to get her to get out there. She's an awesome guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
And she agreed to see us today on our Rockin House show. Absolutely. So Tara's one of the best. She's out of Los Angeles. You're going to hear more about her.
Oh, yeah.
And she has a studio band, which is the A-listers I mentioned, and she has a touring band, 2 different bands. So you'll see different videos out. And like I said, her last LP was with the A-listers. So she's got the goods, she's got the talent. She can play bass, drums, guitar. She does all the work herself, and then she takes all that into the studio with the A-listers, and they knock out a beautiful album, which she just did. And go ahead, Mark.
Absolutely. She just put out a new album called Evil Enough. It's phenomenal. I heard some of the music, even seen the video for Antidote. We're going to talk all about these things with Tara on the show today. So welcome, Tara Lynch, to the Rockin House. This is Mark Z, my partner Rock Dude, and welcome to another awesome Season 2 episode. And I have a special guest today. Tara Lynch is here with us today. What an extraordinary guitar player and musician. Tara, welcome to the Rockin House. We're so happy to have you on our show today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
And I love the background with the wall of the guitars. And like you said, there's way more behind that go up the wall. We will get to that and talk about your gear. But right now, I want to start with how Tara Lynch started. How did you become a musician? What influenced you to be that person that you are today?
Everybody that came before me. I've loved music since I was born. I think I came out of my mother just going, ah! So... yeah, I was always into definitely rock. I like all kinds of music, but my most influential source of music would be everything rock. So we're going back to Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and Judas Priest and Scorpions and, you know, Alice Cooper, of course. God, I love Alice. And, you know, that whole world of music back then. And then, you know, I've always just been super addicted to it. You know, when I was a kid, the other kids would want to go out and play outside. You know, they'd come and bang on my door. I was in New York, you know, lived in an apartment at the time. And the other kids would come bang on the door, come out. And I'm like, no, because they're going to play, you know, they're going to play the new Kiss song in about 5 minutes because I've been listening to the loop. And they used to loop the same playlist, right?
Okay,
and
all right.
It's coming on again in 5 minutes. And I'm like, after they're on, I'm coming out, but not before then. And that was me at like 5.
Unbelievable. There it is. You were born to do it.
Yeah, it just, you know, that's basically how it goes.
So basically you started as a guitar player in the very beginning?
In the very beginning, I mean, I was always singing.
Okay.
It's, you know, we'll get to that later about the fact that I wasn't even intending to sing on my album, which is why I've got Mark Bowles on a couple of tracks, but we'll talk about that later. But going back to the childhood, I was always singing all the time, you know, and my father used to play drums when he was a kid, so he was always very musical and played like keyboards and stuff. My brother, older brother by 6 years, well, 5.5 actually, played guitar and keyboards later too. And so it was just always around, and I loved it. And I not only wanted to listen to it, I felt very naturally inclined to make the music too. So by the time I was about 10 years old, you know, I started wanting to play guitar, and my brother, thinking I would break them by looking at them, you know, forbid me to touch them. And it took me until you know, it took until I was about 11 for him to figure out that I kept sneaking in and playing it anyway.
Yeah.
He caught me in the act. And just when I thought life was over, death by guitar clubbing,
I love it.
he goes, "How did you learn to play like that?" And I go, "Huh?" I'm like, "You're not going to kill me?" And you know what? It's yours. And like never touched it, just walked away from it and got himself another one.
Wow.
Just gave on the spot, just gave it to me. He said, "You know what? It's yours."
Wow.
That was the second nicest thing he ever did for me, besides making me my beautiful niece. So his daughter.
So the metal god shined down upon you and gave you your first axe.
Absolutely. Well, he wasn't a metal god though. He was playing, you know, Horse with No Name by America and stuff like that.
Okay, well, hey, you know, those are good songs.
That might be another reason why I had to get my hands on that thing and play some music that I wanted to hear come out of the guitar.
All right.
Not that I'm knocking America, but, you know,
sure.
My God, I wanted to hear, you know, I'm like,
yep.
How about some Zeppelin or, you know, anything else? Jeez. But, no, so, you know, we had different taste in music, 100%. He doesn't like anything I listen to.
Okay.
It's all like crazy noise music.
Okay, so then this started the journey of your guitar playing.
Yep. Like, I never put it down since then. So at 11 when he gave me the guitar, I've never put it down since then, and I played every single day. I've never not played. I've just, but I didn't do it professionally right away. But I played in bands in school, and you know, there's pictures people have sent me from my school days where I'm sitting in the hallway playing a guitar, like on the floor, you know, just, I was always dragging one around with me everywhere.
So what was the brand of the guitar that he gave you? Was it Les Paul? Was it a Strat?
No, it was an absolute piece of shit. We were broke, dude. It was an absolute piece of shit, no name, excuse the language, knockoff of a Gibson SG. So it basically looked like Angus's. It was the same color.
Yeah.
You know, the same SG Angus plays, but it's just a knockoff. It didn't even have its own name on it. It was literally unlabeled. I mean, you know, for all I know, somebody made it in the backyard. So
it was like your training wheels, you know?
It was my training wheels, absolutely. And then by the time I was, so you take that, and by the time I graduated high school, I had, I think, about 6 guitars.
Okay.
Already. And then now I've got over 80, but.
So it begins.
I've been alive a long time. I've missed quite a few.
Yeah, well, it becomes an addiction with musicians. It does, you know. So what would you say? All right, so we went through all this, you know, in your childhood, getting started. You were handed the guitar. You felt good. The guitar felt good in your hands. What would you say was your biggest band you started to get involved with in your life?
That I ever played with?
Yeah.
Mine.
Yours, really? How bad?
Oh, yeah.
So very beginning it was you.
I never played in any other band prior to. I never.
Wow.
So I always played as a look. A musician is a musician, whether they do it for a living or not.
Sure.
We're all the same. There is no difference other than we decided to do this with our lives versus not.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a woman, you have to understand that we have a much different perspective. Okay, especially when you're like me, and I'm probably on the autistic spectrum. So anyway, when you're like me, and you're like you like to plan things out, and you like to make sure you've checked all the boxes, and you know, kind of like a control group like this. And I wanted, and I've always loved having family. I wanted to, you know, fall in love, get married, have children, all of this.
Right.
And I did not want to be a professional musician and keep taking off on the kids, on tours and all this stuff. I wanted to be, if I was going to have kids, I'm going to be a mother.
Gotcha.
Until they're self-sufficient.
Okay.
So I never decided to do it professionally until this first record.
Is that right? Okay.
That's right. That's right. So the only thing I did before that was I did a guest spot on Beyond the Labyrinth, they're out of Belgium, Beyond the Labyrinth, the Art of Resilience album, and I did about 3 songs, some solos for them out in Belgium. I flew out there and recorded.
Wow.
And then I decided, you know what? It's time. My sons are old enough. They literally don't need me every second anymore.
Right.
And, you know, their own thing going on. They're both in college now.
Okay.
So, yeah. So I decided, okay, it's time.
How bad?
So it's not like I put it off and waited. It was just time at that time. Now I feel like actually going for it, because I knew when I did, it would probably fly. Because please tell me another female out there that writes all of her material, every note and beat and word, and records all the leads and sings and plays all the leads at the same time, live.
Awesome.
Name one. Please tell me who she is, besides me, because I don't know one.
Well, I'll tell you what, Tara, we're going to come back and we're going to continue this conversation on how you got involved with a national level with A-list musicians right after this. Tara Lynch, welcome back again. Wow, what an interesting, extraordinary story, and something to definitely commend you for. Being a mom, putting aside what most people would not do. They wouldn't do this, okay? Well, so let's talk about how you jumped, like, majorly right into being a national artist. Unbelievable.
Well, basically, it goes like this. So when I decided to do it, I sat my family down. I got their permission, because I said, if I decide to do this, it's going to fly. The bird's going to fly. Awesome. Because there's not any or many people like me out there. So even if you don't like my music, even if you've never heard it before, every time I play live, the jaws drop. Yeah. They just drop. You know, because they haven't seen it yet, okay? They've seen plenty of women sing and play guitar, but they're playing chords. They're not playing lead. No. And if they are playing lead, they're only playing lead when they're not singing. You're right. And very specific in one spot, and it's otherwise just chords. And, you know, there's only a handful of guys in the business, actually. There's only a handful that play lead while singing as well. You've got Lindsey Buckingham, Mark Knopfler. There's only a handful. Again, it's a whole unique animal. And the fact that I wrote everything is, you know, really important to mention, because that's missing from a lot of the females that are out there, even if they're just singing and playing chords. So a lot of stuff is written for them or written with a band. So, yes, I have all these guests on my record, but no, they didn't write anything. I wrote it all. So,
that's impressive. Very.
It's my baby. So anyway, I knew it would take, and because why not? I know what I have is good. you know,
You
because I
believe in
like it.
yourself. You believe in yourself. There it is.
Absolutely. You have to. If you don't believe in yourself, don't bother. It's not going to work.
No, no one's going to believe you. If you can't believe in your own self, that's exactly 100% right.
Exactly. If you don't believe in yourself, who the hell's going to believe in you anyway? So living in Los Angeles for my entire adult life.
Wow.
I moved out to LA when I was 18, and I've been here ever since.
Okay.
So living, and I worked in the entertainment business for years. I was in television and stuff like that. So
Nice.
You end up meeting a lot of people in the business. And so I just happened to have a great collection, so to speak, of friends in the business, so that when I did decide to finally go pro doing it,
Yeah.
you know, and I wrote the record. I wrote it knowing who I would want to play what, because I can play all the instruments and I record all the demos myself. I play the drums and piano and guitars, bass, everything. And I sing all the demo vocals. So, you know, I thought, okay, I put that stuff together, and then I thought, okay, who do I want, you know, to play? A lot of the time when I'm writing, I'm thinking, well, you know, I want Vinny on the drums if I can get him to do it. So, awesome. You know, I called him and I talked to him, and Phil Soussan on bass, and I said, you know, I would love for you guys to come and record, take a listen, tell me what you think. And of course, they both said, oh my God, you know, where the hell have you been hiding this? Because all the years that they've known me, they know that I was like a hobby guitarist, but they didn't know I was going to, you know, do anything professional with it. They never knew. Okay. Until I said, not only am I doing it, but I wrote an album and I want you to record it. And they were like, whoa, whoa, whoa. So cool. And that's everybody, because I don't go around wearing it like a badge. Like I said, you know, I don't advertise it, so to speak. I'm just not that personality. It's not what I do. So
let me ask you this, Tara. What are some of your influences as guitar players?
Uli Roth, Michael Schenker.
Nice.
If I could only take one guitarist to a desert island, it's Michael Schenker. Okay. I'll tell you that right now.
That's a huge choice.
He is my
phenomenal.
He's my absolute favorite. If I had to pick a favorite, which I hate doing because there's no one better than anyone else. So I'll never say the best guitarist is and fill that in, because you can't do that. Listen to Eddie Van Halen's playing and listen to Schenker's playing. They're both phenomenal, and they have completely unique different styles that are their own.
Yes. And
no fabrication of anyone that came before them. No. It's their own beast. And same can be said for Uli Roth and Richie Blackmore. And, absolutely. You know, then you've got all of the shrapnel guys from the 80s who basically took all of those guys. Yeah. And they were influenced by them, you know, hugely. I mean, I can hear in Yngwie's playing, I can hear his Blackmore influence and his Uli Roth influence, etc. You know, I mean, you can hear it in everybody. But then you still had some unique animals, like Vinnie Moore, for example, who is extraordinary, and his playing is like no one else's. You can't say, oh, this sounds like anything else. You just can't. And then, of course, Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and you know, Tony Alpine.
Yeah, awesome.
You know, all phenomenal players. So if I forgot to mention anybody, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Let's just back up just a quick minute, because we talked about this earlier about Yngwie. And I said, and you've heard this before, that you're like the female Yngwie because of the extraordinary playing that you do, as you mentioned, that most females do not do. That's amazing in itself. You know, and you hear this quite a bit.
I hear it constantly. I have never compared myself to Yngwie. And, you know, my greatest influences really go back to Michael Schenker, Uli Roth, and even Tony Alpine. Yep. And, you know, I can't say that he hasn't influenced me. He had to, because I'm a fan of his work.
Sure.
And I'm younger. So just by virtue of that fact, it had to have crept in there somewhere. But certainly, I don't think my playing sounds anything like his, but somehow that is who I'm compared to most often. The second most often comparison is Joe Satriani. Wow. And again, you know, I don't have any problem being compared to anybody, because they're all fantastic, and they're not comparing me to people that I wouldn't want to be compared to. So that's okay.
Agreed.
But I'd like to think that I have my own style and my own flair, and I've cultivated my own sound, which I have worked very hard
That's not
to
easy. Yeah.
make sure it don't sound like anybody else.
It's
you know.
hard to do it. So many things have been done. I hear you.
Well,
And you know, you
exactly.
have done this. You have done this. I'm not saying you sound like them at all. They're the influences you can see as another musician
Oh,
like
yeah,
myself.
of course.
I can hear it. You know, the
Yeah.
classical tones and the classical solos. That's where the Yngwie thing comes in, how people identify it. You know?
Yes, but before him came Richie Blackmore, who did
Oh,
that.
yeah. You're right.
And I go back to Deep Purple.
Oh, yeah.
I go back to Rainbow.
Yeah.
You know, I go back to where Yngwie went back and got influenced as well. So did he really influence me? I really think it's, quite frankly, those guys. So of course there would be a similarity in the flavor, I guess.
Yeah.
Over, you know, the classical flavor or whatever that goes into it, you know. Forgive my Spanish, Phrygian, whatever I do. But, you know, it's, honestly, I don't know what the hell it's called because I don't read music. I record straight in when I write. And I'm completely self-taught, so I don't,
Awesome.
I don't know what it's called. I can't even tell you what chord I'm playing.
So I see Marshall back there. Is that pretty much your preferred type of amplifier as the standard in this business, or is there something you prefer besides?
Yeah, you can't go wrong with a Marshall. You know, especially for playing live. I really like the DSL 2000, particularly that head because it's got the dual situation, and I actually play through a fractal, so I really just use it to power my fractal.
Got it. Okay.
This particular head, the DSL 2000, you can still control the depth and the presence.
Very awesome.
Every head that you use to power a fractal, you can't control those things at all. The buttons are all dead on it. It's just up to the fractal and the power it delivers.
Right.
So you have to have a very powerful head. But yeah, that's definitely my go-to.
And I noticed you got a wall of axes going on back there. You said about 80 guitars you have in the collection. Now, there's always matter. You could have 150 guitars, but for always some reason, there's always that one favorite one that you're like, this is my go-to, my workhorse, or whatever you want to call it. Is there any particular one that you prefer? Stratocaster, the Flying V, the Les Paul?
Ernie Ball, Music Man, Silhouette Special.
That's your big. That's your one. Okay.
Those are my guitars. Those you know, those are my go-tos for recording, for touring.
Awesome.
I've only played those live.
Wow. Okay.
Might have played scene once, but yeah, that's Cloud back there, and I have a blue one called Sky, and Cloud and Sky come with me everywhere. I've never toured without them.
Okay, and you're saying that, you know, you got all these A-list musicians in the band that you put it together. Now, you got them first, of course, before you went on tour, right? Or did they go in the studio before and then you guys did shows?
No, we that's all in the studio.
Okay.
When I play live, I'm a solo artist.
Got it.
It's not a band. I'm a solo artist. It's Tara Lynch. So it's whoever I have playing behind me. My lineup changes constantly.
Gotcha.
It has to, because everybody's got different schedules with different bands.
Yep, we hear that a million times.
Yeah. So, but when I record in the studio,
it's
it's the usual suspects. So you've got Vinny on drums, and I had Glenn Sobel come in and do 2 tracks that were more of a progressive nature, more in his wheelhouse, that I wanted to hear his style on, because he's got great, tribal and progressive nature in his playing that I wanted for those 2 tracks.
Awesome.
And but for Vinny, for all the others, Vinny, and for the new material, Vinny as well. Phil Soussan on bass. I also have Bjorn England on bass.
Wow.
On the record, Tony McAlpine on keyboards only, no guitar, because I don't want anybody to get confused and think, that's not me playing, because it is.
Understand. Yep.
And I play every guitar on the record, all leads, rhythms, everything.
Amazing.
And I had Mark Bowles come in to do a couple of vocal tracks.
Wow.
And, well, I was intending on having him sing more, but the guys talked me into doing it myself.
Let's go to that.
So,
Let's talk to that before we break to the next segment. And you said you wanted a story about that, how you know,
yeah.
wind up going into the vocals that you really didn't want to, but let's talk about that with you.
Okay, so like I said, I write all the music and I play all the instruments. So
Sure.
I record all the demos. When I write, I just write directly into Logic,
Gotcha.
and I record.
Okay.
I record the demos there, and the guys get a finished song to hear, learn, and then
Nice.
just so I can play the drums. I'm not going to be dumb enough to go play them in the studio because you need someone who only drums all the time to do that. So I'm a guitarist who can play the drums. I'm not a drummer. I wouldn't call myself a drummer, right?
Right.
So you want the best people for those things. The best bass player that only plays bass all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So
perfect sense to me.
Yeah. So I record all the demos, and that means the vocal too.
Wow. Okay.
The first two songs we started out with, I automatically had Mark come in and record those because those were the first two songs recorded.
Wow.
Those vocals were done. And when we got to the next batch of songs and we went back into the studio, and Vinny Appice and Phil Susan were there, Brent Woods, my producer, and I pulled into the parking lot, and Vinny comes running out, flings the door open. Give me one good reason you're not singing on your own record, basically. And I was like, huh?
Too.
Yeah. I said, did Brent put you up to this? I thought I was getting punked. And Phil comes over and said, Tara, really? I mean, where was this voice all this time? I had no idea. This is my terrible English accent. But, I don't understand. Why aren't you singing all of this? And I'm like, because, did you hear me sing? Yeah. I sound like a frog, I know I can sing, I know I can hit notes and all that, but I didn't think the tone of my voice, I don't know. I never really got into female metal singers so much. Forgive me, everybody. I'm sorry, but it never appealed to me.
Okay.
There's a couple that get a pass, like Doro Pesh, who is phenomenal, and I love her voice. Yeah. You've got a couple of the newer girls. There's some new ones. I don't know their names. Forgive me, but they sound great. But going back to like classic heavy metal, I never really enjoyed the female delivery on a vocal on a heavy song.
Gotcha.
Except for Doro. That was the only one that I enjoyed.
Okay.
So, and of course Joan Jett for rock and roll. Just for basic rock. I mean, who doesn't love Joan, right?
Oh,
she's amazing.
Yeah, she's unbelievable. Icon. Rock icon,
Yeah. So, and I'm a huge fan of Susie Quattro as well. Bass player, singing, singer, bass player, fantastic artist, great voice. Very old school rock, But in the metal, like I said, it just never really appealed to me very much. So I thought, by being female, I was just going to come out sounding like that. And I didn't want that on my record. I wanted what I love to hear on my record. So I thought Mark for, most of it because, Mark is phenomenal. Yep. So anyway, after hours of basically, pressure, and I realized they were dead serious and not joking.
Yeah.
And that combined with, they actually told me why it made good business sense, and that's what really spoke to me.
Okay. And
I thought, oh, okay, you're right. So let me record one, and if I like the way it sounds, then I'll do the rest.
There you go.
So we record "Banished from My Kingdom."
Nice, that's cool.
I listened back to that vocal, and I said, that doesn't sound like the other chicks in the business. It doesn't at all. It doesn't suck. It's actually okay. All right.
Well, let's come back, and we're going to talk about the A-listers, Vinny, Susan, all these bands members we talked about that are on your album. You put together this phenomenal album, Evil Enough, and we're going to come back in just a moment and talk about that experience with Tara Lynch. All right, this is Marky Z. I'm back with Tara Lynch. What an amazing story. Very, very different than most of what I've heard, and this is really interesting. We are now going to talk about, in our last segment here of the Rockin House, is your album. The people that are on the album are major musicians like Vinny and Tony. Unbelievable. Let's talk about all this. Your dream coming into view just like that. You put it together, it happened, and now it's here. Let's talk about where that's going for you right now, despite the pandemic.
So, you know, the pandemic definitely put a halt on things for a while. You know, I toured right up until the pandemic happened. My last show was in February of 2020, and by March, everything was locked down.
Yeah.
So, in February of 2020, I was actually on the road, special guest of Last in Line. So I was out with Vinny and Viv and Phil and Andy. And, you know, it was just so depressing how everything just came to a screeching halt, you know, for everybody in business. But I'm not going to let that stop me and my ability to promote this record, because at this point, when something like this pandemic happens, it doesn't matter in terms of when it was released. What matters is, you know, getting the respect and acknowledgement that the album deserves. And so I'm going to continue to tour on this record, although I will be releasing new material next year.
Awesome. Something to look forward to.
Yeah, and I'm about to play the Blue Ridge Rock Festival in a few weeks.
Okay.
And I'm headlining the Rising Talent Stage, which is right off of the main stage on day 2.
Okay.
And I will be sneaking a peek of my new single that will be coming out in early 22.
Awesome.
At that level. Yeah.
How cool is that?
So get the videos ready, everybody, whoever's going.
There ain't no stopping this train.
Upload it, make it viral,
so
and
cool.
that'd be awesome.
Okay, so of course, you know, Evil Enough, awesome songs, the title of the album. I believe that is the actual video I saw with all these A-lister musicians in. Is that correct?
Antidote.
That's the one off the album. Yes. Awesome song.
That I released, Antidote.
Yes.
And so in that video, you would see Vinny Appice on drums, Phil on the bass.
Yes.
And we've got Brent Woods playing rhythm, and Calpine on keys.
Yes. Unbelievable.
And yours truly up front. And it was an amazing shoot. We had a lot of fun that day. It was fantastic. And that video came out, and it's got almost, I think, 1 million views. It's doing really well, so that's nice. And you know, especially being independent, like I said, I don't have a major label support, so everything is very organic.
Yeah.
You know. So, which is really nice. And so we shot that video and released it, and I've had nothing but phenomenal reviews on the record from all the media across the board, which is really nice, you know. And I was able to start touring on it, you know.
How amazing. And of course, you know, we were introduced to you by Susie Corey, we've had on our show. She's an amazing musician as well.
I love Susie Corey.
She's awesome.
Check her. It's amazing.
Yes, and she told us and talked you up like, you got to get Tara on your show. I said, no problem. Let's get her on. And then when I heard it, I was like, whoa, I never heard this woman. This is unbelievable. She is unbelievable. And then who she's got with her to record is unbelievable. I'm like, this is amazing. I mean, how did that feel to do a video with like this dream band that was right there with you? Like, you must have been like, do I smack myself? This is really happening?
I mean, definitely yes. And at the same time, they're also my friends.
Okay.
Like, we meet each other, we hang out,
How cool.
We see each other for New Year's Eve. You know, so like.
Okay.
I mean, you
well
know.
Connected.
It's all connected for me, and that's, you know, that's what made it even more special for me.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, was to not just be with these guys that I love that are close to my heart, but also to be able to jump in and work with them. And the fact that each one of those individuals with their names and their images and where they've been would support me like that.
Yeah.
You know, there's one thing about friendship, and then there's another thing about, you know, career. And
Yes.
is it a good career move to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yes,
I
do.
wouldn't have been surprised if they said, you know, well, this isn't really our thing. We can't do it or something like that. But no, buddy. I mean, they heard the material and immediately went, where have you been hiding this stuff? This is what you do when we're not hanging out. Like when we don't see you, you know, like what the hell? Why have you been sitting on this talent we didn't know anything about? Like, I mean, you know,
Wow.
it kind of like struck the living shit out of them.
Yeah.
And, you know, how come we didn't know you did this? And I'm like, look, I just don't talk about it. I do it, and when I'm ready to really do it, then I let you know. And I said, well, you want to do it with me? They said, yeah. We went, we did it, and it's done.
Well, you know what?
And
timing is everything, as we know, and obviously you picked the right time for this to happen because look what is happening. And they're still with you. That's amazing. And you built this relationship beyond, like, to an insane level now, not just as friends, as musicians now, recording and writing and working with you. That's amazing achievement in itself. And I'll tell you what.
Well, I'm the only one doing the writing. Nobody's writing with me.
Yeah. Well, just to have them want to play with you is amazing in itself. All the things
they
they've
take
done.
what I wrote and put their essence on it, which is what makes it perfect, because that's what I heard in my head when I was writing it. I always heard Vinny's thump.
Unbelievable.
Always heard his thump in my head.
So let me ask you this, as we're going to close out the show. What is coming up for you? Now, you said another album's going to be coming up. You said this Blue Ridge, is that what it's called?
So I'm going to do the Blue Ridge Rock Festival.
Okay.
That's on September 10th, day 2.
Awesome.
I hear the second largest rock festival in North America. There's like 160,000.
Wow.
It's sold out. 160,000 tickets sold out.
And you're going to give me a sneak peek of something coming on the next album. Is that right?
That's right.
That's really
my first
cool.
single that I'm going to be releasing in 22. I will play at the show. Yeah.
Wow, that's so amazing. Okay,
yeah,
so
it's called Badassery.
Badassery.
And,
and let me ask you this: since you're doing so many amazing things with this project, did you also come up with the little logo, that little cartoon character of yourself, which is so cool?
Absolutely.
You did.
Absolutely.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Wow. How cool.
Yeah, I mean, you know, people kept calling me Guitara. They kind of like stuck a "git" in front of my name, I guess. Because I play guitar, like, you know. And so I thought, you know, how about a little Guitara, like, cartoon character, a little, like, superhero logo thing for fun. And my husband actually has it tattooed on his bicep.
Really?
Oh,
how cool.
And, you know, I wish my waist was that small, but when you get to do a little character of yourself, well, you can embellish it a bit, can't you?
That's so cool, though. That character, it does look like you. It's so cool. I love it.
Yeah, well, Tony made a joke at dinner one night. McAlpine, he says something like, well, they got the P&A right.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's a funny memory. So, other than this other festival, do we have other things in the works to do more shows, you know, now that things have opened up with COVID?
Well, you say that, but actually not so much, because right now we're in the process where Live Nation's just announced you must be vaccinated to attend a show or work for us.
Right.
Then they backpedaled and said, now it's only our staff that has to be vaccinated, and we're going to let the artist decide.
How about it?
If the audience is going to be vaccinated for each show. Then they came back and said, nope. Now everyone has to either be vaccinated or have a 72-hour test to attend any of our shows. That's both Live Nation and AEG.
Right.
And like, I don't know if you know that I went on tour with UFO. I was their special guest.
No, I did not know that. Awesome.
Oh yeah. I was UFO's special guest for their 50th anniversary Last Borders tour.
Amazing.
All over the UK and Ireland. It was we were on the road for like 5 weeks, and we did a lot of sold out shows, and it was a fantastic time. And a lot of those were Live Nation venues.
Gotcha.
Okay, so
Okay.
that was my first like big tour ever in my
Wow.
life. Yeah, prior to that I had played in Germany, but yeah, that was like my first big tour. And so I'd like to go out and do something like that again, but until they sort this situation out, they're making it very difficult. So like the guys that played with me on the road for the UFO tour, my live drummer, Joe Lazarus, and my rhythm guitarist, Simon Kaviani, they're both residents of the UK, and there's a band. So I couldn't even get them over here to play Blue Ridge with me.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, again, my lineup changes. Now, everybody is always a stellar musician that backs me up. I always have top-notch people, but, and you know, but the point is, as long as there are strangleholds like that going on, I'm not going to be able to do the kind of tour that I want to do. When I'm not on a major label, I am independent. And it's not worth the pre-production expense. Set all that up and then potentially lose it, because now what they're doing by saying that the musicians have to be vaccinated, for example. And I'm not going to get into a political discussion at all about that, because I don't care to do that. But what they're doing is they're making it so that certain people can't even tour, like the Offspring drummer. He just got dropped from the Offspring tour because he has a medical condition and his doctor won't allow him to get vaccinated. He doesn't qualify for the vaccine because the vaccine contains an element that would kick off another disorder of his.
Oh my God.
So he literally lost a tour because he couldn't.
Horrible.
Right. So with these kinds of things going on, I'm waiting to release my new material. It's wrapped up with a bow, mastered and ready to go.
Ready to go. Right.
But I'm holding it until I can plan a proper tour. I'm hoping that happens in 2022.
Right.
We've got to get this next flu season that's going to happen after September.
Yep.
Everyone's going to do the fall dates, and we're going to see whatever the aftermath is of that and what happens with things. And if things progress toward opening up again and the travel bans are lifted and everybody's able to go where they need to go, then I will rip the world's face off.
I love your attitude, Tara. It's awesome. And you're going to do it. You're going to do it, too.
Oh, yeah.
You're going to do it. But you know what? I got one last thing I want to talk about, and we're ending our show with an awesome note here. How did it feel to be able to play on the stage and share a stage with Schenker, one of your favorite guitar players, right?
With Schenker?
Yeah, wasn't it UFO, right?
Yeah, but the guitarist for UFO for the last 20
Not
some
him, huh?
Vinnie Moore.
Okay, well, VinnieOre was one of your favorite guitar players.
Oh, absolutely.
How did that feel? How did that feel to you to do that?
Yes. Are you kidding? I felt like, you know, God forbid something happens and I die right now. Bucket list is checked. I'm good.
Wow.
I'm good. My first tour, I opened up in front of thousands of people per night.
Okay.
In great venues.
Wow.
I mean, I played Shepherd's Bush Empire. I played, you know, these amazing places opening for one of my absolute favorite bands of all time.
Wow.
And Vinny, who's a dear friend and an absolute guitar hero of mine as well. You know, to be on the road with him like that, the whole thing was just, well, all the guys, I love everybody in UFO.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was absolutely phenomenal. I'll cherish that memory till my last breath.
Well, forgive me on that, because I didn't realize Vinnie Moore was playing with UFO nowadays.
Now, Michael Schenker he plays a lot of the stuff Michael wrote, and then, of course, all the new material after that that Vinnie also wrote. But Michael split off from UFO and did Michael Schenker Group, MSG.
Yeah. I'm aware of that, of course.
Decades ago. And so Vinnie Moore took that. He was with Alice Cooper, and then he went to UFO.
Wow, so he's been with them for a while.
And then had a great solo career as well.
Oh,
you know, he's also done that in between all of that stuff. So, but yeah, UFO is, you know, phenomenal.
Absolutely.
But this is their Last Orders tour, and so all those venues we played, that was the last time they were ever playing them.
Wow. So that was
that's
a very
why,
special
like,
thing.
A lot of sold out shows, because everybody knows every place they hit is the last time they're ever doing it.
Wow. Well, you know what, with that said, I think that's a good good place to end today. And I want to thank you again for coming and being a special guest on our show today, Tara. It was awesome having you. What amazing stories that I learned about you and even learned about UFO. I really appreciate you. I'm Marky Z with my partner Rock Dude saying, keep rocking, keep your attitude, keep believing in yourself, and you are going to tear the world up.
Thank you.
haven't you been saying?